Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. This is our first album review of 2024, and as you can clearly see from the title of this video, from the album artwork displayed in the thumbnail, we're kicking off 2024 with quite the doozy of an album. Quite the gosh darn diddle darn doozy of an album. Folks, I say what I'm about to say knowing damn well that these words may come to haunt me later in the year, that they may bite me in the ass, that my entire review has a distinct possibility of not aging well as we draw closer to the end of 2024. I say what I'm about to say not to be hyperbolic, not to put this album on a pedestal, or to do the standard, is this the best album ever, YouTube metal shit? I say what I'm about to say because it is what I want to say. It is what my heart and my soul and my brain want me to say. We may have already found one of the most outrageous and explosive albums of 2024 in God is Violence, the debut studio album from Cancer Christ. Cancer Christ is an American power violence, hardcore, grindcore, thrash metal, death metal crew. Just all the extreme, noisy, punky sounds combined together, emulsified into some sickening mayonnaise-like concoction. Also, on top of that, Cancer Christ apparently operates as a church. Their lead singer calls himself Saint Anthony, and he actually does sermons. In fact, there's a sermon on this album, and there are different church membership packages that you can apply for and buy online. As Cancer Christ write on their website, "Welcome to our humble church, spreading the gospel through their unique brand of reptilian power violence. Saint Anthony and the Snake People have been sent down from heaven on a holy mission to make all politicians, pedophiles, and police officers suffer slowly. Our main mission statement, though, is to bring people together. We aim to create a safe space for fans and freaks of all genders, sexualities, races, etc." And just so we're all on the same page here, no, before you ask, this isn't satire. There are arguably satirical elements to the Cancer Christ music and brand and image, but overall, Cancer Christ appeared to be pretty genuine and legitimate. If you're unconvinced, might I recommend pausing this video and going to the Heavy Metal Philosophy YouTube channel, in which its host had a pretty in-depth conversation with Cancer Christ singer and pastor and leader Saint Anthony. And he went to great lengths to explain what Cancer Christ means to him, what he wants it to mean to other people. He went to great lengths to explain his relationship with the church, with Christianity, with Jesus Christ and God, and with organized religion as a whole. And I don't know, man, I come out of that interview thinking, damn, if this is just a big fucking joke, then fucking bravo, this is an Oscar-worthy joke. My man is killing it. But again, I really don't think it is. And the fact that it isn't makes this album all the more satisfying. Because it means that Cancer Christ aren't fucking around. It means that they really are truly going straight for the fucking jugular. And the result is an album that is every bit as urgent and powerful and poignant as it is sonically manic and brutal. The first few cuts on this record, Do You Want to Go to Heaven, Baptized in Piss and Shit, and God Hates Cops, had me legitimately kind of floored. They're just so blunt and confrontational and bloodthirsty and edgy. All of them are cram-packed with raging, grindcore, power violence, punk metal, manicy. I mean, you have these nuggets of hyper-technical bass and guitar interplay and these very erratic kind of vocal displays and dynamics. And it just constantly rampages and kind of bulldozes its way through. Parts of this remind me of some of the weirder kind of punk metal crossover stuff I would expect from a modern day Mike Patton project. Dead Cross comes to mind. The Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo album from Mr. Bungle comes to mind. The percussion is insanely fucking tight and intense as well. That combined with the feedback and the static and some other kind of aesthetic elements, that also reminds me of some agoraphobic Nosebleed from back in the day. And lyrically and conceptually too, there's some really powerful and provocative stuff. Like in Do You Want to Go to Heaven, for instance, Saint Anthony outright says, like, why would you want to go to heaven? That's an absolute thing. In the chorus, he's repeatedly shouting, if you want to go to heaven, kill yourself. And then in God Hates Cops, he talks about brutalizing police officers and, you know, the use of police sirens and these really, like, eerie, haunting, sliding, slimy licks and grooves in the latter half, too. Like, it's really good shit. There's also stuff like Bring Back the Guillotine, which has this really old-school, chaotic, underground punk thrash metal kind of vibe to it. Like, it kind of feels like Exodus and Slayer joining forces to create like some really weird crust punk. Tracks like God Bless the Rapist and Jesus Has a Big Ol' Cock also dip their toes into more ironic, sarcastic, tongue-in-cheek waters, with God Bless the Rapist taking a sinister enthusiasm and joy out of humiliating and brutalizing sexual predators, whereas Jesus Has a Big Ol' Cock kind of acts out this Marvel Comics style what-if scenario where Jesus rises from the grave but takes revenge on all of his enemies. And then there's God Made Me Do It, which goes into much darker, dare I say, psychopathic territory. We're diving into the mind of somebody who is using his love and belief in God to justify extreme violence. And there are all these like voiceovers and samples and screeching vocals and noisy metallic outbursts and these slow-moving, lurching death metal grooves that kind of feels like something that Cannibal Corpse would play around with to a certain extent. Across the album, too, you have a slew of interludes in which Cancer Christ is repeatedly screaming and shouting at the top of their lungs, "Hail Christ," over top some really gnarly, crunchy, punishing punk or grind or death metal. And the album officially ends on this kind of spoken word, sermon-esque number, Saint Anthony's Sermon, in which Saint Anthony is wishing doom and pain and misery upon pedophiles, sexual predators, billionaires, politicians. At certain points, his speech is mixed and layered to sound more like this grotesque, demon-like being, which I think is pretty effective as well. It's rare you find a piece of media or art, let alone a metal album, comprised of God-fearing people, put together by God-fearing people, that is so effectively critical of modern Christianity and Christian nationalism and people who use the Bible, who twist its words and meanings to further their own agenda. And I think that's part of what really sells this for me as well. Like, these guys firmly believe in everything they're saying and doing. They want to create a more inclusive world, not just for people who believe in their version of Christianity, but for all people. And they also want to make sure that people are held accountable for their actions. Hear me out, folks, but I feel like if there's an alternate dimension where anal cunt is still kicking and they're just as crude and just as offensive and edgy, but also they're way more politically active and they're way more intelligent and professional, that's Cancer Christ. Right fucking there. I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 5. I think this is just a totally outrageous and explosive and cathartic record from start to finish, supremely entertaining and satisfying. I can't imagine that this is going to be something that is universally loved and praised and accepted. I imagine that more conservative and Christian-leaning metalheads and listeners are going to look at this and just dismiss it as woke, blasphemous garbage. But I don't know, man. I find a lot of what Cancer Christ is doing on this album to be really interesting and really important, and I think they've paired everything that they're saying and doing with this really powerful Molotov cocktail of noise and punk and hardcore and extreme metal sounds and flurries. It's, I mean, obviously far too early to say that this is like one of my favorite albums of the year, but I mean, goddamn, I'm definitely going to be jamming this for quite some fucking time. That much is fucking certain. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I am not an expert, nor do I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown immediately. Look, there's even more videos here. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.